In this video, I'm going to explain how I set up and structure training programs for busy men who are short on time. So people who come to me and say, I don't have time to train. One of the most common things that I hear from men is, I really want to get in shape. I just don't have the time. Busy with work, busy with the kids, trying to train every day just isn't realistic. And what I'm finding is that the biggest reason for this is people think that they have a time problem, when in fact what they really have is a problem with structure. So I'm going to show you how I structure the training for my clients who are busy, so they can still lose fat, they can still build muscle, get into great shape without living inside the gym. First step is we start with a reality check. When a client joins me and we start and we set things up, I ask a very, very simple question. What is your commitment to training? What does your time look like? How many times a week can you realistically train? Not ideally, not what you want to do. What can you do now? What can you commit to? For most people, the answer is usually either 2 sessions or 3 sessions. Occasionally, people say they can do 4, but very more often than not, it's 2 or 3. The structure of the training plan is built around that. Okay. The next step is to choose the right training split. So once we know how many sessions someone can train, we choose the most efficient training structure for them. Now, if someone comes to me and says, I can only train 2 or 3 times a week, more than likely the most effective approach is a full body training, which means each session trains the entire body. If they say they can do 3 or 4 sessions a week, then we move into an upper lower split. So upper body one day, lower body the next day. Usually you might throw in biceps or another smaller muscle group with that. This allows us to train each muscle group twice a week while still keep the sessions extremely efficient. This is something that I'm a big believer in. Frequency. Being able to train, hit each body part at least twice a week where possible. What I don't do with people who don't have a lot of time is push them into complicated splits like push-pull legs or bow splits. Push-pull legs is fine. It's a really good split to do. But if you're the problem with it is if you've only got 3 days to train and you're doing push, pull, legs, you're only hitting each body part once a week. And for me, in my experience, I don't believe that is the most efficient. Those are usually suited better to people who can train 5 or 6 days a week. Again, I've just alluded to in the previous slide, training each muscle group twice per week is ideal. It doesn't actually take the muscles that long to recover. 2 to 3 sleeps is generally enough. You can hit that muscle again. In my experience, this is the most effective approach, and it is what I've used probably the most in the past 30 years that I've been training. You do not need to train every day. I see so many people who are training 5, 6 days a week, and in my honest opinion, for most people, I would say if you can train that often, then you're potentially not training hard enough in each of these sessions. What we're then going to focus on is exercises that give you a high return on investment. When time is limited, you don't want to be going in and doing too many exercises. You want to pick exercises that give you the biggest return. Generally, that is your big compound movements, so your big lifts, things like any kind of squatting or leg pressing movements, deadlifts and hip hinges, your presses, and your rows, your pulls. If you have a combination of them, you pretty much cover most bases. Then what I'll do, if there's time left in the program, we'll fill in the gaps with a number of small isolation exercises. So things like lateral raises, dumbbell curls, you might have a tricep extension or a leg extension, calf extension, core work, that kind of thing. For people who are short on time, the emphasis has to be on lower volume with higher intensity. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is trying to cram far too much into each workout, and they're spending 2 hours more in the gym. It's absolutely not needed. The method that I prefer is a much lower volume, higher intensity approach. Fewer exercises, much more focus and intention on what you're doing, and much harder effort, much better effort. You can push harder in fewer well-chosen movements than you can by spreading out all of your effort across 2 hours worth with far too many sets. This approach to training works regardless of whether your goal is fat loss, maintaining muscle, or building muscle. So in summary, when I build training plans for busy clients, the structure is very, very simple. First, we start with realistic weekly availability. Then we'll look at using full body or upper lower splits. And we try and train each muscle group at least twice a week. We'll focus on compound exercises and we'll keep the volume sensible but the intensity high. You don't need to train every day. All you need is the right structure and to be able to do it consistently. If this has helped change how you think about training and you'd like to see how a training plan could be built around your schedule, click the link in my bio and book a free call.